So once you're in Nearpod, you can see the screen of several exams, or you can watch it from my screen, but it's better if you enter to Nearpod to participate in the activities. And in general, this is a lot of information, and I put only some of these exams in this webinar because honestly, if we take all of the options, it will take a very long time to compare them and talk about them. Right now, this specific webinar is more focused on exams for adults. For usually they cover the ages from like 10th grade, cuarto bachillerato, and on, right? For example, TOEFL, they do have different series for children and for teenagers, but TOEFL that we will be talking about today is for adults. ELASH, on the picture, you also can see it's ELASH 1, because ELASH 1 is for teenagers, for 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, básico, and ELASH 2 is from cuarto bachillerato and on, right? Yields, again, we'll talk about it, has variations, but it's designed for adults. TOEIC is a professional exam. Versant is very different from most of the exams. Duolingo, Cambridge Placement Test, and then here I put two more, which are PTE Academic, here's the test of English, and Avant Stamp. However, they are not included in the presentations because they are not so easy to access, and sometimes they serve specific purposes, and not all of the exams are unfortunately available in Guatemala. Even if we take the big testing centers like IGA or Cambridge Testing Center, not all of them have access to other exams. Yes, in this case, I didn't mention them. And usually the situation is the following. Let me see, we are 5 people. Okay, so the situation is that when we have to take the exam as adults, for example, we have many options. Let's say hi to Miriam. Miriam is gonna enter. There she is. Hi, Miriam.
Hello.
Hi. Please, if you can join again to Nearpod. So I was saying that as adults, like we have to choose the exam that we can take, right? Sometimes it's like requested by some institution, but sometimes it's not, or we have options. So for example, one of the things that I have encountered with is when people need an exam, a language exam level, to present in the university in order to get graduated. Yes, for example, here we can talk about the example of MBA of Mesoamericana, Masters of Business Administration. People who graduate from that career, they are required to present international proficiency test diploma, and they have several options. So usually the question is which of the options I should take, right? Because for example, there's an option of ELASH and there's option of TOEFL and something else. So how do we recommend our students, or how do we recommend to people who are interested in taking an exam? What do we say to them, right? Like, you should take this exam, or you shouldn't take this exam, or whatever. You come, you say, I want preparation for this exam, you pay, and we're all happy, right? So that's the question. That's why I was asking you at the name of the webinar, like, why do we have to prepare students for the exams and how? Yes. So in that case, why, the question goes specifically probably for the student, right? If the person comes to you and says, hi, well, you're the teacher, or you're the one who knows about English level, what do you recommend? So how do we start that conversation? We say, okay, well, first of all, why do you need to pass the exam? Is it a special requirement of the school, the university, for your job? Do you want it just for yourself? do you want it because you're an English teacher and you want to prove your English level, right? Because we were talking last time on the webinar, if you're not native speaker, then your level has to be somewhere on Common European Framework range, right? From A1 to C1 or possibly C2. But how do you prove it? Yes. And one of the ways of proving it is taking one of the exams. But then again, will you take the exam in Guatemala City? Will you take the exam in Shela? Will you take the exam in your computer? So that's why we're pretty much connected here today. Yes, so you can observe the logos of different exams and we can start with the general presentation now that we have waited for some time. Yes, 6 of you are here. Excellent. Somebody is missing an earbud. Can you guys please again? I'm sending you the link. Or I also sent you in chat the information for connection. So if you can join. Okay, so our next activity, if you can look on the nearpod or on my screen, these are the answers that you gave me when I asked you to fill out the form. Maybe not everybody connected to forms, but mostly, yes, there were 9 people today, so there are 9 responses. And we have 2 people with TOEFL IBT experience, 2 people with English, 2 people with Cambridge placement test, and then we have 1 for Versant, 1 for Duolingo, 1 for Michigan, 1 for EGA test, and I got C1, right? And as you can see, if we add up all of the numbers, it will be more than 9. Actually, some people have taken more than 1. Yes, personally, I also have taken 2. I have taken TOEFL IBT twice. First time was long time ago when I graduated from the university in Russia and I went to the United States. And second time TOEFL IBT, I took it a year and a half ago, and I have 107 out of, no, I'm sorry, 113 out of 120. But that's where we get to the point. Now, what does that mean, right? What if you have 113 out of 120? What does it prove? What does it show you? What does it show to institution or a place where you're going to apply or something like that, right? And let's see. No, she hasn't connected. Suli, there was one of the people registered for a webinar. She has actually taken 3 exams. She has taken 3 different exams. So I wish we could ask her for the experience, right? Hi, Valerie. Are you here? She's getting connected. Okay, so again, here in the, sorry, in the nearby, you can see your answers, which is good. We have people with experience and then we have people with no experience, which is also interesting. So if you don't have experience, what's your next step? Yes, what do you expect like to do with this information that you get today, right? Now, before we move on to the very, very large discussion, the document that will show you and later send it to you, I have a question. What do you consider the most difficult part of an exam preparation, right? You can answer as a student or you can answer as a teacher from your experience. What is the hardest thing you think is for you, right? Let's see, who has not been connected to Nearpod? I please ask you to still join because I will be showing you the answers, but it's not so much fun, right? Let me show you. So there are several links. You can join Nearpod, put the class code, or click on it and try to get connected, right? Miriam says the listening part because of the accent. That's interesting. Let me change the view. I will also put my opinion, I think. But I would like you to try and answer this question. So if you are getting ready for a language exam, what would be the most difficult part of that preparation for you, or if you have prepared someone else. Oh, look at that, we have images. Okay, so Zulmi, you say, I would like to prepare myself to take any of those exams and at the same time give my students advice to take them too. This is going to be one of the following steps that we will discuss what requirements each exam has and what we're going to do with those requirements, yes? So if you're a student, I think that to speak and to have fluency is the part most difficult for me. No worries about the grammar. We're not judging right now. Okay, so that's a good also point, right? So some exams have speaking part and some exams don't have speaking part. So if you have options, yes, as a student, you can trick the system and you can take the exam that doesn't require speaking. Okay, so people who are entering right now, I'm still hoping we can get connected to Nearpod. Hi, Ligia. Here, connection, please.
Hi.
Okay. Reading because I get distracted easily. Okay, this is one of the things also that we need to consider. The time that it takes to sit down and take the actual exam. It's also included in the information that I will be presenting, right? Why? Because many times exam is not only about your English skills. Yes, exams are also about your resistance. Like you have to sit down and concentrate for a very long period of time sometimes, yes, or maybe not, depending on exam. I think that is when we study a lot of stuff and we don't know what really matters. I mean, we don't receive a list of topics. Another thing is speaking parts, fluency, current, excellent. I have another question after this one for you, and you will have to tell me exam preparation and English classes, for example, just the English classes, are they the same or different? So, for example, somebody comes to you or to me, yes, and in case of my academy, I have talked to many people about it, and they come and they say, hey, so I want to study for the exam for call center, but I also want to learn general English. So now I have to balance, right? I have to see um, what am I supposed to teach that student, right? Am I supposed to focus more on general English or am I supposed to focus on exam preparation? Because it's not the same to get student ready for Versant, right? Valerie, you here, you were the one who has taken Versant, and it's not the same to get student ready for Duolingo test, or it's not the same to get student ready for English test, you know what I mean? So like that's what we're talking about the exam preparation. And if you remember my video with imitating different people with different English levels, for example, there's exam of Kalusak, and I know that in the exam of Kalusak they have grammar section and speaking section. If I'm mistaken, please let me know, but that's what I understood from somebody who gave me this information. So the exam only consists in grammar and speaking. Is that correct for assessing English level? If we're talking about different skills, if we're talking about 4 skills, which are reading, listening, writing, and speaking, where does the grammar go? And why is the grammar separated from other sections? You know what I mean? So that's where we have to be clear with the information that we are giving to the students or that we are looking for when we're choosing an exam. I will show you my idea of what is difficult in exam preparation. And I think it's also time management. Time management not only for preparation. Okay, yes, yeah, I think that all the skills are needed to be assessed. Okay, here we go. So some exams give that opportunity, yes, and some exams don't. But again, we start with the purpose. What am I supposed to do with that exam? Or what am I supposed to do with this diploma? Am I going to just bring it to the university and say, here, hey, here's my level? Or I'm actually going to strive for something personal, or I'm actually going to show it to my employer, right? So my time management idea is that preparation for exam takes time. Yes, any exam that we consider important or suitable for us, it takes time. So we have to have a structure for preparation for the exam, and we have to manage the time during the exam. So no matter if exam lasts 50 minutes or 3.5 hours, you have to know how to manage the time during the exam, right? The listening and speaking evaluation content could be challenging at some point for the specific vocabulary. Correct. There are academic level exams and general level exams. Yes. So what's gonna happen if I have C1 on general topics, but then suddenly I have to pass the test where there's a lot of technical vocabulary. So now what? Yes. Will I get the same C1 or no? Because my skills of language are developed at a certain level, but remember that C1 requests managing technical information and specific language in this case. All right, thank you. I will move on to the next slide if you don't mind. Oops, sorry. So you have a questionnaire, yes? And that's the question I was trying to tell you about, right? Can the preparation for a language test be general, not related to specific test requirements? For example, I can tell you my early teaching experience, like long time ago. I was teaching in Celas Maya school, but they have Spanish school, and at that point they were also doing English school. Let me read your. Give me just in a moment. Let's just see the encuesta. So there was a student whose English was pretty good, and there was an American girl who was working with him, and like he wanted to work with different people because he wanted to improve quickly. So some days she worked with him and some days I worked with him. And at some point, like I saw her doing activities with him, like making cookies and describing the living room and things like that. And she showed me that it comes from the description of the Common European Framework, like A1, A2, and everything. And then I talked to him and I was like, I wanted to ask you, like, why are you practicing English right now? Like, I see your English levels is pretty good. Like, if you make cookies, you can speak English fluently. Or if you describe your living room, you can speak English fluently. But what do you want to do? And then he said, well, actually, I want to pass the TOEFL test because I'm an engineer and I want to go to study to Germany. And for that, I need to pass TOEFL test. And I was like, okay, so why are your English classes like, you know what I mean, activities and not exam preparation, right? So that was a question for him and for me and for the girl. And I don't know eventually if he ever took TOEFL test or no. I think he's still in Quetzaltenango. But the thing is, that's what I'm asking, right? So like, can the preparation for language test be general? So if I have a group of students, adults who need to get ready for a language test, and I know which kind of language test, and I include activities that English teachers usually include, yes, in classes, like the mingle, the games, this and that, right? So what is my limit for that? Like, should I continue with all of that, or should I focus on something else, for example? And another thing that happened, another my experience in preparation, I had TOEFL IBT preparation for 2 years with bilingual school. And when the bilingual school was going through certification, international certification, they needed to like do special methodology in class. And the special methodology was working in groups, rotating the groups, changing activities, having like hands-on activities. And I had TOEFL IBT preparation test. So we had like this kind of encounter and problem with the principals because they were like, you have to make the classes like this and like that. And I'm like, yes, but in real life, when my students go to take TOEFL test, they have to sit still for 3 hours, and they have to concentrate on reading or listening or speaking, in that case, for a lot of time. So how do you want me to do activities that are not related to test preparation? And then when they go and take the test, they will be upset, as well as their parents, as well as the school at some point, right? So let me show you your answers, right? So we can see that yes and no are actually even for you guys. Let's see if I can load it. So 36.4 said yes, 36.4 said no, and 27 did not respond, right? So what do we say? Personally, I don't think so. I think that exam preparation has to have special stages and special activities, right? And in this case, we are using time management skills again, right? All right. So these are the things that I consider important for preparation for the exam. Again, at the beginning, if you were not connected, I said that exam preparation elements are the question how to prepare. Are the answers to the question how to prepare, and the question why to prepare students for that. Let's see, 13 people. Somebody's not connected to Nearpod. If you don't mind, again, I'll send you the link. So the question why depends on the needs of specific student, right? If it's a requirement of the school, the future university, the actual university, job requirement, if that person just wants to do it, right? Like that's what Zumi was saying, right? Maybe speaking would be the toughest part because I get a bit shy when it comes to giving long speeches or monologues. Even for teacher, it is difficult to get assessed, right? So we teachers sometimes have to pass for that as well, right? So these are my ideas. I say, first, we need to know the accurate actual level of the student. Yes. If you already feel comfortable with Common European Framework, you can find any kind of free test online. I can send you links later if you want me to. Just remind it to me in the group or in personal chat. And you can do free test for your students or for yourself where you can get approximate level. Of course, it's not 100% accurate as when you take the actual exam, yes, but this is the beginning, this is the standing point. Then we need to know the exam requirements, and exam requirements include purpose of the exam, yes, if it's for academic purposes, for professional purposes, or for general English, yes. What sections are included? That's what we were talking about, right? What if speaking for me is extremely difficult, but if I don't pass this exam, I will not get diploma of my university, or I will not get a job position, and my job position maybe requires minimum speaking skills, right? Or regular speaking skills. But because of that section, I cannot move on, right? That's also possible. Then we have total time and time for each section. I think it's also very important because as you can, you will see shortly, and if you remember from what I have just said, that for example, TOEFL ABT exam takes 3.5 hours, which is, imagine if you can only take it in Guatemala City, and let's say it's at 9 a.m. or at 8 a.m., you have to be in testing center 30 minutes before that. So you have to go to Guatemala City, stay somewhere in Guatemala City, wake up early, come on time without the traffic or with the traffic, whatever. Then you have to pass all of the registration procedure, and then you have to sit for 3 hours. Yes, and you have 10 minutes break once when you can go to the restroom and everything, and then you have to continue. So you have to take that into account as well, right? Scores interpretation. Again, score interpretation can be related to Common European Framework or not. If it's related to Common European Framework, will the people who accept your diploma be able to read it? Yes, and understand it. Of course, there are most of the exams, they have the descriptions of what you can do according to that score. But again, that person who is sitting in the office may not be familiar with all that, right? So how do they decide what kind of level they want? and how do they interpret the results. For example, one of the real life situations that, for example, Mesoamericana University has the limit on ELASH, which is minimum 160 points out of 200. Calculate, do the math. That's 80%, right? So somebody, in my experience, got 159. And he had level C1 and he had high, high, high in all of the sections. But the university did not accept that diploma. They said, no, it's not 160. My question is, honestly, the difference between 151 and 160 and 161, is it that serious for demonstrating your skills and proving that you have advanced level of English? Then we have test taking method. What I'm referring here is to that test taking method can be paper-based or internet-based. It can be done in a specific testing center, or it can be done at home, for example, on your computer. Yes, that's important. Price and how often you can retake it. Again, prices vary a lot. Yes, like seriously a lot. If Duolingo says that they are one of the cheapest exams, actually they aren't. Yes, they cost $49, and if you multiply it by what, almost 8, yes, that's one price. There are other exams that are cheaper, and there are other exams that are more expensive. But then, how often can you retake it? So, okay, I took a test and I don't like my results. Can I retake it in 2 weeks because it's urgent for me? Or do I have to wait 6 months because that's the requirement of the test? Or I can retake it 2 years later, or no, for example, yes? Access to preparation materials. Again, this is very different for each exam, because preparation materials can be easily found. You can buy the books for preparation, or you can find free materials, or you can find a lot of YouTube channels for that. That's good. Or not. The exam is so secret that you cannot find any information. So how do you get ready for that exam? Yes. And my recommendation is that teachers should have taken at least a demo exam before teaching. Yes. So they have to, you have to, whoever we're talking to, right? If you're a teacher, if you're a student, you should ask if your teacher has taken exam. The actual exam is one thing, or the preparation, some kind of demo version. Yes, because those versions also exist. Because otherwise, that doesn't make sense in the preparation, right? Now, here's a very large document here for you. So if you can please open it in your computers, and I will also open it here in student version. Again, this is information that I collected. Comparing to the previous document, I was given by one of my students, teachers, and I just digitalized it. This document, it's totally mine. Okay, so as you can see here, we have English proficiency exams for adults, and we have different characteristics. The characteristics are the purpose, if it's digital paper, if you have to take it in a specific testing center or not, what kind of section it includes, the price, the score type, what kind of numbers or letters you can get, if it's related to CEFR or no, and some personal observations that I put in this document, right? Let me see, there was a question. Would be great having some exams to evaluate our students' English level. Yes, so Jose, you mentioned that, right? About the level for your students. Like I mentioned, you can do it the free exam, or you can find exams that are not very expensive, depending if you're working with school or not. Yes, because by packages, some online exams could be pretty cheap. For example, they can cost like $5 per student, $4 per student, yes, if you buy them as a big package. And the advantage of buying a package is that you can use them several times, yes, with different students. Let's say you buy a package of 100 tests, and the school has, I don't know, 20 students who are going to graduate. So that package can be used several times. Okay, so we have 30 minutes in this big table. I'm gonna try to explain you the general things, but you can read it later slowly. English 1 and 2, the difference is that English 1 is for teenagers and English 2 is for people from cuarto bachillerato and on. It's called English Language Assessment System for Hispanics. This is interesting. It is specifically designed to evaluate English knowledge for people whose first language is Spanish. And it's also funny because I took that exam and my first language is Russian. So I don't know if there's a version for English language system for Russian speakers, but I took it. And it's also interesting that this exam's instructions come in Spanish. Yes. And also that it asks you questions that are related to confusions, common confusions for Spanish speakers. Yes. And you can name a number of confusions. For example, people who say, it's a beautiful day. Yes. Why? Because in Spanish, it's es un día hermoso. So that situation of missing it's, for example, yes. That exam is general. It is done on paper only. If you want to take that exam, you can go to VG de Guatemala, or in my experience, we have done it in Quetzaltenango several times, but it has the minimum of test takers, and the price of the test goes up because of the travel expenses, right, of the person who comes. However, it's way more comfortable usually to do it in Chile rather than do it in Guatemala City, or it can be organized in any different place. Yes. It has listening comprehension, language use and indirect writing, and reading comprehension and idioms. As you can see, that exam does not include speaking, and it lasts for about 2.5 hours. These are the prices, and as I said, that for example, in this case, the total of points is 200. It comes from the average of each section. You get the report of each section, and then your total score is the average of 3. Yes, and it also has the reference for CFR level. So you will get the number and you get the B1 and B2, C1, etc. My personal observations that the prices are accessible, the standards are reliable, it is accepted by many universities, Guatemala and Latin America. You can find a list of universities accepted, even in Spain. It has instructions in Spanish, which makes life easier for a lot of students. And here's the link if you want to look at it later, but there are no preparation materials easily available. That exam is like top secret something. Yes, even if you look all over the place, you can only find student manual and something that people shared on the internet, but there's no, like somebody mentioned before, right, list of topics. It does not exist, right? Next, we have TOEFL IBT. TOEFL means Test of English as a Foreign Language. IBT means internet-based, and it's created by ETS. ETS, it's a non-profit organization that creates tests for different purposes. It has years and years of research and improvement. That test is the newest version. Well, it's not so new. I took IBT back in 2007, but what I'm saying here, it's digital only because paper-based test, PBT, is discontinued. You cannot take it on paper anymore. It measures the test taker's ability to use and understand English at the university level. That exam is specifically for people who want to go and study in a university where their instructions will be in English, right? Then it says you can take it only in Guatemala City. You register through official page of ETS, and you will be randomly assigned a testing center according to the date you choose. I think there are like 5, 6 testing centers. I'm not sure. I know it's Tecroli, I know it's IGA, I know it's English Academy, something like that, and some others, but you cannot choose one. Or sometimes you can if it's specific date. Yes, you can take it once a week usually, or like find registration for every week, but it's on Friday or on Saturday, depending on the month. It has 4 sections: listening, reading, speaking, writing, and it takes about 3.5 hours to complete the whole test. It's quite expensive, $180 as of today. Why am I saying as of today? 3 years ago, when I was teaching at the school where I mentioned to you, the cost was $165. As you can see, the price probably goes up $5 every year or something like that, right? You can repeat the exam every 2 weeks. This is interesting that in case of English, it can only be repeated after 6 months because they explained that test takers' anxiety goes up every time you take the test after the first failure. So it's not recommended for you to take the test too often. And they say, okay, 4 months is minimum because you have to do something to improve your score, not just take it again. Yes. And if you take it again in 2 weeks, then okay, you can find a way to intensify your preparation, but is this going to be reflected on your scores positively or negatively, right? TOEFL exam has 120 points of total. It's 30 points for each section, and then they add them up. You get skill descriptions. You get a PDF document after 8 days, and there is no connection to CFR. You can get only the description of your skills according to TOEFL measurements, yes, which is academic English. Now, what is kind of good for TOEFL is that it tells you, if you know a little bit about the statistics or remember something about the statistics, there's like a normal distribution curve, right? And that normal distribution curve, there are people who are in the middle, yes, that the most people are in the middle, and then those people who go in the lower percentile and people who go in the higher percentile. So the higher is your score, the better is your percentile. For example, if I have 113 out of 120, I am in 2% of people who get that score, whoever takes that exam. So all of the thousands and millions of people who took that exam, they are divided in total 100, and for example, that score belongs to only 2% of people. It's good because if people know how to interpret your scores, they say, okay, your level is average or your level is way above average, for example, right? And here's some of the information. Yes, that it's oriented on academic only. It isn't suitable for anyone. This is my opinion. I think it should be taken when people actually want to study in the United States or somewhere else. What is required? Preparation. If you have level B2 already, you can start preparation for TOEFL. If your level is B1, it's risky. It will take you longer or it will be harder. Yes, and if your level is C1, you're good to go. It's highly demanding for time limits. For example, all the speaking activities have this annoying sound of beep, yes, when you have to get ready for the exam. And the advantage is that you can find a lot of preparation materials and books. You can buy them, you can buy them from somebody else used. Yes, you can find information online. There are preparations for Magoosh on YouTube, whatever you can find it, yes. And next exam is IELTS. It's English for International Opportunity, created by British Council in Cambridge. This is interesting. Originally, that test is for European countries, and it's for American English, right? I'm sorry, British English. There is a version of American English, but generally, if you go to the website page and you look at all of it, you will have sample materials in British English. This is it also interesting that IELTS offers two options. It's IELTS Academic, which is similar to TOEFL and is accepted as TOEFL in many universities, and it has IELTS General Training, which is for professionals, yes. I investigated, and unfortunately you cannot take the digital version of this test. It exists, but in Guatemala you can only take it to paper. I found only one testing center. It's called Anglo-Mexican Foundation in Guatemala. You can search for it later. It has 4 sections, very similar to TOEFL. It's a little bit shorter, 2 hours, 45 minutes. And this is interesting. The cost varies. From what I understand, that this is the cost in general, but different country, different month, different year, the price can be different. Yes, you can take it every month up to 2 or 3 times if you want to. Yes, so if you have $240 and you want to do it 3 times this month, you're welcome. The scores are very interesting and for me personally kind of difficult because the smaller are the numbers, the more complicated it is to fit the in between. So for example, they go from 1 to 9 and number one is called non-user. It's not zero, it's the person who understands only some words. Yes, and 9 is an expert user. The speaking test is totally different from TOEFL. It's not automatically designed and performed. You actually have an interview, an oral interview with a real person, which is recorded. All speaking tests can be completed up to a week before or after the other tests. So you can take reading, listening, writing, and during the week or before that, during the week, you can take speaking tests for with a special setup, right? For that. I'm not sure what program they use. I don't think it's Skype. It's probably something belonging to Cambridge. And you can find more information here. Now, Duolingo. If you have heard of it or not, but officially it's already launched and you can find information easily. You can register for it easily. It is designed to assess real world language ability. So we're not talking academic, we're talking general English. You can take the test online only, anytime, anywhere, with the use of camera and microphone. If you go to the webpage, you will see that they have special requirements that during the test, you have to sit in front of your camera all the time. You cannot have your cell phone like I do right now, for example, because you will not get your score. You can also do, you cannot, like, your mouse cannot go out of the screen. Your screen will be recorded. Yes. The question is here if it's a testing center. No, it's not. It also has 4 sections: reading, writing, speaking, and listening, but it takes only 1 hour. So if you don't want to go to Guatemala City, yes, for ELAS, TOEFL, IELTS, you can take the Duolingo test. It costs $49. Like I said, it's not the cheapest, but you can take up to 2 tests in 30-day period, which is way more affordable. It has its own system of scores. If you go to the webpage later, you will see that the test scores go from 10 to 100, and there are 2 columns. And on the first column, you have Duolingo scores, and on the other column, you have TOEFL scores, and you can see the connection. However, there's no connection to CFR. You cannot compare it to Common European Framework. And you can find language descriptor. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find the example of Duolingo diploma, how it looks like. From what I can see, that you get a score, supposedly like in a month, and then you can compare that score to the descriptors that are on the webpage. Or maybe you get the description of your skills in the exam. I'm not sure. What I can say from my own observation, it's a pretty new exam option. There isn't much feedback on it yet. Preparation doesn't seem too complicated because it's general English. Duolingo partners with institutions across the globe, including hundreds of universities and secondary schools who accept the Duolingo test as part of their admission process. So if let's say you want to go to study to an English-speaking country and you can take Duolingo test instead of TOEFL, excellent, do it. I mean, that's a perfect option. And here we have 3 more. I can tell you from the beginning, when you guys were connected early, I said that I could not include all of the tests in that presentation. There are many more, but we're talking about the ones of specific purposes and different formats, and those that you can actually access in Guatemala, yes? Except you will see here in TOEIC, this is funny, it's not available in Guatemala, but I put it in here so you can consider that it's a different test. Let's talk about the Versant. It's not abbreviation. I searched for the name. As you can see here, IELTS has the abbreviation, TOEFL has the abbreviation, and Versant is the proper name for the one of the exams created by Pearson. It evaluates general English of individuals whose native language is not English. Versant is fully automated. This is very interesting. It's similar to TOEFL somehow because it's on the locked screen and everything goes automatically on the screen. Yes, then it says it can be taken by a large group of candidates, and then all of those candidates will receive the score immediately, which does not happen with any of the previous exams. Yes, ELAS takes a month, TOEFL ABT takes a week because your scores are recorded and checked by people, actual people. IELTS also takes time because of the speaking presentation, and Duolingo takes up to 30 days. It can be less than that, but usually it's up to 30 days. Now, Versant gives you immediate response to your score, even though you were not talking to a real person, you were talking to a computer. Interesting. The availability, the testing center depends on each country requirements. In Guatemala, so far, it's IGA. IGA is more expensive. Officially on their webpage, it's 550 quetzales. And VG de Guatemala, they also offer it, and it's the same price as ILASH. And if there are 15 people or more in one specific place, then the people can be tested in that specific place. So for example, if at some point, like we were talking at the beginning with Zoomi, right, all the English teachers decide to have their test in certain place, Toto, Shela, it's possible, right? In this case, it can be Versant. It has all 4 skills, but in very interesting form. It's not by section of reading, listening, but it says reading aloud, repeat the sentences, sentence build, conversations, typing, sentence completion, dictation, passage reconstruction, and summary and opinion. That's totally different from everything I have seen. It takes 50 minutes. There is a Versant shorter version that is used for call center. For example, here in Telos, they use a shorter version of Versant, which only takes about 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But it's for, let's say, Telos use only. In that case, they can give you a diploma, but it's like Telos certified, not specifically Versant diploma. Score ranges from 20 to 80 points. You get average on each section, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever averages. And then you get skill description, and also you get a score according to CEFR. What I can say, interesting, it includes typing speed reports. Yes, like I said, it's used by call centers. It is highly demanding in speaking skills and time management, and it requires special training. Unfortunately, no preparations are easily available. You can buy it online from certain schools or certain, web pages, but just like that, go home and prepare for Versant by yourself. It's kind of complicated, right? And here are 2 more. The thing that I mentioned about TOEIC, it's Test of English for International Communication. Very interesting. It's actually designed for assessing English language skills needed for workplace. It's a specific test that is only for professionals, yes, people who want to apply for international companies. Unfortunately, it has no centers. It does not offer centers in Guatemala. There is a way to fill out information form, and that exam, it belongs to the United States and Canada, but I think it's one of the exams that people can take if they migrate and they are going to work for a specific company. I included it here because you don't know what kind of students you may get. And what if your students come and say, hey, I have a job offer, or I want to apply to the United States, I have double nationality, but I was born in the here in Guatemala. And usually for people who did not study high school officially on the territory of English-speaking countries, they cannot be taken as native speakers. Yes, they have to pass TOEFL, TOEIC, or something. It's also interesting that it has 3 separate tests available. Maybe a workplace can ask for only listening and reading, or maybe it can ask for only speaking and writing. And there's also bridge test. I will not give you more details, it's not available here, but you can read a little bit more. It costs $85. The scores vary for each section. And like I said, it's a very useful test for professional development. However, it's not available in Guatemala, hence there are no preparation options, right? And then finally, if you go to the webpage of Cambridge, and I will give you a chance to look at it later and send it to you later in the email, Cambridge offers a huge variety of tests. That's not even comprehensible, so many. Like if you go to a web page of Cambridge, you can see that they have for each level 2 or 3 different exams. Yes, however, there is a placement test, and what placement test does, it is an affordable online test that can be used to quickly access skills in order to choose the right English course. So if you are a teacher and you sell it for your students, but you get accurate level, yes, for placement. Or if you're a student and you take it and you go to school, because that's what some language schools tend to do, right? They access your level, and let's say you're level 5, whatever, but they send you to level 4, right? Why do they send you to level 4? Because for a language school, it's better that if you study 4, 5, 6, 7, or whatever, right? So you can also have the feedback and like something to prove your language level, right? It's only in digital form. It can be taken anywhere. Here in Shela, Richmond also offers those tests, not only in Shela, but like wherever Richmond works. It has listening, grammar. I said embedded, it's similar to other tests. You don't have grammar section, but it does test your grammar. Yes, it has reading, and it's only 30 minutes. The cost will be around $25, depending how you buy it, where you buy it, etc. It has TFR reference. What you get is your average of the 3 sections and 1 total. And this is interesting also, it's an adaptive test. None of the previous tests were adaptive. Adaptive are complicated, honestly, but this is like new technology. As you work through the test, computer checks your answers, then chooses suitable tasks to match your level to knowledge. So if you're doing great in the first 5 questions, your questions are getting harder. And if you're doing so, your questions stay in the same level. And if you're failing them, they go down. Kind of interesting, right? So that's a lot of information. I speak fast, I understand. The time limit is the same for everybody, just 1 hour of this webinar. I will send you this document. So it's kind of copyright because I made it. So you can share it, I don't mind, but just to know that this information was taken specifically for this webinar. And it's time for your little evaluation. If you read the document with me and if you followed my fast explanations, we're going to play a game. So if you're in Nearpod, yes, I'm going to just go to the teacher's part. It will ask to put your name and we will play a game. It will be underwater. I like underwater. So if you're connected, please go ahead and type your name. Here's Jose. He will be appearing as different little animals, and we will play the game. It only has 6 questions, don't worry. The questions are not very complicated. So please get connected. And there is a little penguin and another penguin. And Yuldair is a monkey. And Javier is also a monkey. There's a Paulina panda. And Axel penguin. All right, I will start the game if you don't mind. I don't know how many people are still. I have 13, but I'm not sure. Do you need any help with connecting? It should be on your screen. So that way we can play the game all together. That's a different. Judith has a very interesting avatar. All right, shall we play? British English, huh? Okay. If you're connected, go ahead. Which exam is based on the university academic topics? Five seconds, and we're moving to the next one. Some people run forward. Which exam is based on the university academic topics? Next. Which exam is paper-based only? Hey, next question. Which is the most expensive exam? Do you remember? Who is connecting, getting connected? Oh no, Suli. Which exam results are not correlated with CFR? You guys are so cute right there on my screen. Which exam is the easiest to have access to? And the last question is, which exam doesn't have speaking section? Let's see. So we have people here who participated, and I understand that the questions were kind of specific. Before we basically finished for today. I would like to ask you two questions. Which exam would you be interested in taking for yourself? If you were asked today, yes, hey, you have a chance to take an exam this year, which one would you take? Right? So please try to vote. There is an option of all of the above or none of them. Maybe not, you don't like either. You thought of something else. There's option of all of them for extra nerds, right? Who like to be challenged and who like to see where they're standing, yes, at what point they are in their language development and professional development. Let's see your answers. What happens if I vote? I'm gonna say all of them. And then I can show you the answers. So meanwhile, my last question will be in the next slide, and the question is for the topic of the last webinar that I thought of doing next week. Again, one more. General, like I talked to Zulmit this at the beginning of the webinar, my idea is to share information with teachers and with people interested in language learning, so you as students or teachers understand better what's happening in that area of language proficiency, where the information comes from, how to find the beginning and the end of that, yes, how to choose the best option for you, for your students, yes, how to correlate your purposes with information that has been developed by many years of research by language specialists, right? And that the idea is to keep creating the spaces for teachers and professionals of language, yes, in order to like create our own society somehow, because I see in a lot of situations that English teachers are not valued as they're supposed to be. I don't know if that's the correct phrase to say, but schools want a lot of things or universities want a lot of things, but they don't give opportunities to teachers to study for those things or to improve for those things, right? So sometimes it depends on us how much information we can get from outside of the workplace, yes, and that information is for us because we can work in different places during our career, yes, and right now when the education went online, the how do you say that? There's no limit for teaching opportunities, yes, but for those teaching opportunities, each teacher also has to have necessary skills and necessary information and certification, right? So some kind of certification that tells you, yes, you can do it, or something like that, right? So as we can see, most of you said all of them. You would like to try all of them. People who are ready for TOEFL IBT, 23.1%, Cambridge English. Somehow Duolingo, Yeltsin Versat didn't get any fans today. So if you don't mind, before we get disconnected, you can type me something. I asked you what should I present on the next webinar. I have two options, ideally, either planning frameworks, everything about possible options of PDP, PPU, ECRIF, what TESOL recommends, and so on. Or we can talk about international teacher certification options. So how you can have a diploma, yes, or certificate that tells us or tells other people what your skills are. There are a lot of options again, not so many as in language exams, but there are. So if you want, I can. Okay, good question. The certificates, all of the language certificates are valid for 2 years. You can double check on all of the web pages that I will later send to you, but all of them are 2 years. Planning frameworks, okay. What about the two of them? Two more webinars. Let's think about it. Why not? If we still have time and desire to do that, that would be interesting. International teacher certification. Aha, I see. We may get both. Number one. Huh. You make my life complicated, you know? I'm Libra. I hate deciding between two options. Like, if, the joke, like if you put the two stacks of hay in front of a donkey, then the donkey will die from being hungry because donkey cannot decide to go to the left, to the right. It's similar with Libra situation. It's kind of complicated for me to choose a topic. If you want to turn on your microphone and ask me something before we get done with it, I will send you email like last time with more information. And again, like I will get ready for next Monday. I will let you know which one we decide. Maybe hopefully we can do it 2 more Mondays. Activities that we can do with our students during this time that we are far. Great. I was thinking about it. However, I feel that recently everybody's talking about it, all of the activities. What we can do is I can share with you also a link for my blog. It's half personal, half professional, but it does have some professional information. Recently, I posted one article for using things for distant learning. I have to update it because honestly, since I posted it, it's been 2 weeks and I found a lot more on what to do with my students. So yes, definitely, Miriam, if you guys would like me to do that, I can send you also a link to that article. Can we do both? Sounds like it because I have people voting for 1 and 2. Okay. Well, excellent then. Thank you for, let's see what we have to say here. All of them. The paper based on TOEFL is called IPT Now Enrichment. Yes, the only thing is with IPT, it has different, if I'm not mistaken, it has different presentations because IPT is on paper. And I don't know if the length and the topics are identical to IBT. So maybe if I'm mistaken about that, I don't think they're the same, but probably they are. If they are the same, then yes, it's an option in IPT. And yes, that's true that Richmond offers all of the TOEFL exams for all of the levels, the kids and the adults and the teenagers in the IPT. So that's another thing. Well, I guess, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me today, and thanks for your questions and for your comments. I know we don't have this face-to-face communication, which I'm missing a lot, but through the interactive presentation, I can see your ideas and talk about them. So thank you. Have a great afternoon. Have a great week. I'll talk to you again next Monday.